Have you ever wondered who we have to thank for the Wi-Fi you are using right now to watch this video? What if I told you it was one of the most glamorous stars of Hollywood's golden age? It sounds like a movie plot, but it's the incredible true story of Hedy Lamarr. In the 1930s and 40s, Hedy Lamarr was a name that conjured images of breathtaking beauty and silver screen magic. She was the talk of the town, celebrated as the most beautiful woman in the world. Her face graced countless movie posters, and her performances captivated audiences globally. She was the epitome of Hollywood elegance, a star who seemed to live a fairy tale life under the shimmering lights of Tinseltown. But behind the perfectly coiffed hair and the enchanting smile was a mind that was light years ahead of its time. Born Hedwig Maria Kiesler in Vienna, Austria, Hedy was curious from a young age. She would often take apart and reassemble her music box just to understand how it worked. This innate curiosity and sharp intellect weren't things Hollywood publicists were keen to advertise. In an era that often confined women to simplistic roles, a brilliant mind was not considered a glamorous asset for a female star. So, while the world saw a goddess on screen, Hedy was quietly nurturing a secret passion: invention. Her life took a dramatic turn before she even set foot in Hollywood. Trapped in a controlling marriage to a wealthy Austrian arms dealer, a man who supplied munitions to the Axis powers, Hedy was treated more like a possession than a person. However, she was forced to attend his business dinners with high-ranking officials and scientists. While her husband saw her as a beautiful trophy, Hedy was listening. She absorbed every detail of the conversations about military technology, weapons systems, and radio-controlled torpedoes. She was gathering intelligence, understanding the very real threat of the looming war. This wasn't just idle eavesdropping, it was the foundation of her future invention. She eventually orchestrated a daring escape from her husband and her homeland, making her way to London and eventually to America. It was here that she was discovered by MGM studio head Louis B. Mayer, who renamed her Hedy Lamarr and launched her Hollywood career. But as World War II intensified, Hedy felt a desperate need to contribute to the Allied effort. Her glamorous movie roles felt hollow compared to the real-world conflict. She knew the Nazi U-boats were devastating Allied shipping, partly because their radio-guided torpedoes were easily jammed. The enemy could simply find the frequency being used and disrupt the signal, sending the torpedo off course. Hedy had an idea, a revolutionary concept sparked by those long-ago dinners. What if you could make the signal hop between radio frequencies? If the transmitter and receiver could rapidly and synchronously jump from one frequency to another, the signal would be impossible for the enemy to track and jam. This is where the story gets even more fascinating. Hedy didn't work alone. She collaborated with an avant-garde composer and pianist named George Antheil. It seems like an unlikely pairing, a movie star and a musician, but Antheil had his own unique expertise. He was known for his ballet, a composition that used 16 synchronized player pianos. The mechanism he used to keep those pianos in perfect sync was based on player piano rolls, perforated paper strips that dictated the notes. Hedy and George realized that this same principle could be applied to radio signals. They envisioned using two identical paper rolls, one in the transmitter and one in the torpedo's receiver, to synchronize the frequency hops. Together, they painstakingly developed their secret communication system. They drafted the blueprints and worked out the mechanics. In 1942, they were granted U.S. Patent 2,292,387 for their frequency-hopping spread spectrum technology. They immediately offered their patent free of charge to the U.S. Navy, hoping it would give the Allies a decisive advantage in the war. And what was the Navy's response? They essentially told her she'd be more valuable selling war bonds. They filed the patent away and dismissed the idea, perhaps unable to see past her celebrity status. The technology was simply too far ahead of its time, and the idea of implementing it using player piano mechanics seemed impractical to the engineers of the day. Hedy was heartbroken but continued her war efforts in the way they'd asked, using her fame to raise millions for the cause. For decades, her groundbreaking invention was forgotten, a footnote in a patent office drawer. Hedy's Hollywood career eventually faded, and she lived a reclusive life, her brilliance largely unrecognized by the world that had once adored her beauty. The public remembered Hedy Lamarr, the movie star, not Hedy Lamarr, the inventor. But great ideas have a way of resurfacing. In the late 1950s, long after the patent had expired, engineers rediscovered her concept. They replaced the clunky piano roll mechanism with modern electronics, and frequency hopping became a cornerstone of secure military communications, particularly during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. It was a secret weapon, hidden in plain sight. The story doesn't end there. The principles of spread spectrum technology, the very idea that Hedy and George patented, are what make our modern wireless world possible. It's the foundational technology for GPS, Bluetooth, and most famously, Wi-Fi. Every time your phone connects to a wireless network, it's using a descendant of Hedy Lamarr's invention to communicate securely and without interference, the technology that allows billions of devices to talk to each other without getting their signals crossed. All goes back to a Hollywood actress and a composer trying to stop Nazi torpedoes. It wasn't until the late 1990s, near the end of her life, that Hedy finally began to receive recognition for her contribution to science. She was given the Pioneer Award from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and in 2014, she was posthumously inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. It was a long overdue acknowledgement of a mind that was as stunning as her face. Hedy Lamarr's story is a powerful reminder that we should never judge a book by its cover. She was a woman who defied expectations and refused to be limited by the narrow box society tried to put her in. She proved that glamour and genius are not mutually exclusive. She was both a star of the silver screen and a giant of modern technology. So the next time you log on to Wi-Fi, send a file via Bluetooth or use your GPS to find your way. Take a moment to remember Hedy Lamarr, the brilliant, beautiful, and trailblazing inventor who helped shape the very fabric of our digital lives. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories you might not know. We'll see you in the next video.